Hello and welcome to episode 31 of SAAB Fever. My name's Frank, and in today's episode I'm going to be showing you all how to make the BlueSAAB 6.1 modules. Now, as a bunch of you probably know already, I've sold a few of these to people on the various forums on Facebook. They seem to be going down quite well. But sadly at the moment, due to the global chip shortage, some of the parts are bordering on impossible to find. It is improving. There are some parts that are available now that weren't available a few months ago, but we still can't get hold of everything that's needed. But I thought I'd put this video out there just to show you all how I've put them together, show you how you can put them together yourself as well, where you need to go, what you need to get, that kind of thing. And hopefully we'll see a lot more of these in the future. Now, one of the first places you're going to need to go is to the official BlueSAAB forums. I'll just search for BlueSAAB forum. You can see I've searched for it before already. Top link here on Nabble. And here we are. It's alright, so this is the official forum for the BlueSAAB people. There really is a wealth of information in here. You could probably spend days reading through all the posts and the replies and stuff. For the purposes of just focusing on actually producing some of the BlueSAAB modules though, we're just going to cut through most of it and go straight to the stuff we need. Now, one of the things we'll need to get hold of is here. This is me, despite what that says. I've fairly recently uploaded a CSV file that's used for the JLC PCB manufacturer in China. That's who I've always had make the boards for me. And as I've learned, I mean, I should also say, although I do have a background in computing, the electronics side, not really. I've dabbled with it over the years. And producing this board, I've done about 5 batches now, I think 4. And I've really learned a lot, and I think you will too, actually, if you start producing these yourself. But anyway, I'm waffling. Grab yourself a copy of this. There's the link. You'll also want the latest copy of the firmware. That's in here. Firmware releases, and you'll want firmware 6.1.1. There it is right there. So grab a copy of that file as well. We're also going to need to grab a copy of the Gerber files for the PCB layout as well. Head into hardware, 6.1 bracket 6.1.1 PCB. We can follow a link here, so here, and actions and download, and that will give us the files needed. Now that we have all the files that we need, we're going to head to JLC PCB, and this is the company I've been using to create the PCBs for me. My very first batch, really, it was just I just got them to do the capacitors and the resistors for me. I didn't really know enough about everything else at the time, so I was largely just following the bill of materials list that the guys provide. JLC, although they do have a lot of the components, they don't have everything, and even some of the stuff they do have, it's not what's actually listed by the BlueSAAB people, but we can find equivalents, which my parts list that I've provided as a CSV already has those in them already. So hopefully we try to get JLC to do as much of the work for us as we can, so that we don't have to spend hours soldering all the fiddly little things ourselves. That's the main goal of this. Right, we're straight in. That's handy. This is what I'm expecting to see. Upload a Gerber file. I'll browse to where I've got all my stuff saved. It should be on my desktop. Where's my desktop? I've lost it. There we go. Now, JLC do seem to like it uploaded as a zip file, so although the files you'll get from the BlueSAAB people will be separated, you'll need to add them all into a zip file first and then upload that. So I'll upload the file, they'll then extract it at their end, and hopefully what we should see is a picture of the PCB, both sides of it. There we are. Good. That's basically what we expect to see. There's both sides, top side here and bottom side there. Now, for the most part, just leave almost everything as it is. Change your quantity as required. For the most part, just leave everything as it is. Now, if you were to place this order here, you would receive a blank PCB with nothing on it at all. So you'd have to then solder on every single little capacitor and resistor and chip and everything. But we want to try to minimize the work we have to do. So we're going to specify surface mount assembly. Yes, we want it on the top side. That's fine. Yes, I agree to your terms and conditions, whatever they are. And now we have 2 files to upload. Back to our BlueSAAB stuff. Now, this is that file I got you to download earlier. And then CPL, give them the same file again because they won't let you continue without it. Okay, now here we are. Now this is a list of all the components, where they're placing them, the size, the footprint here, what they are. And thus far, yeah, good, everything's ticked. Now that's a good sign, but I will warn you, from my experience of JLC, because they seem to change manufacturers of capacitors or something every so often, all too often, although this is working now, you might find in a month or two they've changed manufacturer on some of the capacitors, and suddenly you're going to have to go searching for capacitors. If that does happen, I recommend, should we pick one? Should we pick one? I mean, here's a resistor, here's a 1K resistor, for instance. So if for some reason this isn't here, you'll have to search. Now, they'll automatically add the 1K from the comment. I recommend, while searching for replacement parts, wherever possible, so it's a good example here being this resistor, that we add the footprint size, so 0805, press enter, and now we should only be looking for 1K resistors in the correct size that we need. See the package size here? So this is the sort of thing we're looking for. Here's a resistor, and it's the right size, it's the 0805, so that's what we would pick as our replacement part. It can obviously get a lot more complicated. Some of these things, say if we had to find a replacement, yeah, there we go. If we had to find a replacement for this, which I have had to do, sometimes different manufacturers supplying JLC seem to load them into the spools that you get on the pick and place machines differently. And one of the things, you'll see it in the next, you'll see it when we go to the next screen, but one of the things that can happen is you found a perfectly suitable replacement, but it will be upside down on the board. Well, I'll show you in a sec. Basically, the wrong way around, shall we say. And you then need to go back, update the CSV file itself, and then go through all of this rigmarole again. There doesn't seem to be a way to correct it on here, so we have to correct the file instead. But this is a good example. Everything's listed here. So scroll right to the bottom, go next. And if we wait a second or two, we should see our circuit board populated with a bunch of stuff. There we go. I think we can zoom. Can we zoom in? Yeah, you can even zoom in and have a bit of a look around. Now, many of the things, the polarity doesn't matter, so your capacitors, they just get plonked on. The diodes matter. See how they've got a positive there and a negative symbol there. It does actually matter which way around those are. So if for some reason you have to find yourself a different diode, you might want to just make sure that it is actually oriented the correct way. Hopefully, I mean, I've done it when I first started doing this. Obviously, obviously I knew things had a polarity, but still didn't really know what I was, how to use their site. If they spot any glaring faults, they will correct it for you. They do seem to have done that for me anyway, which is quite nice of them, I thought. One thing I will recommend when sourcing replacement parts, one of my batches, I had to replace this voltage regulator here. This is basically the little power supply for the board. It takes the 12 volts in from the car, goes through the diode into here, and it'll take that 12 volts and it'll give you 3.3 volts out here and up here. You do have to be careful, because although you might find, there's a replacement 3.3 volt regulator in a SOT 233 package, 223 package, you may find the pinouts different. Some of them also, they'll have this as ground, and they'll give you this as VCC, and we need both of those to be VCC, and we need our ground to be there, and we need our 12 volt in to be there. So that's something to bear in mind as well. If you have had to replace any of the parts, if you see any of these oriented the other way round, you will have to update that CSV file that I've provided with the orientation, and then go through this entire process again. It can get a little frustrating, to be honest, especially if you have multiple things to replace and all those things have different issues. However, everything here looks fine. There's the chip. It's probably worth stating, actually, while I'm here, just so you all know, the voltage regulator there is not what is specified in the bill of materials. That is an equivalent replacement. This anti-surge protection diode here, that's also different. That's an equivalent replacement. The LED here, the power LED, that's an equivalent replacement. This LED down here is an equivalent replacement. And the big thing, the great big thing, the chip. This is my most recent batch, is the first one where I've actually had this chip. That chip there probably represents the biggest problem as if you're trying to solder this by hand yourself. It also it's where I've had the most failures, where I've just destroyed chips and had to throw them away and buy another one. It's not the original. They do have the one specified in the bill of materials, but it's about 25 quid. This one's £4 something, I think. So it's quite a bit cheaper, and I'm happy to say it seems to function absolutely perfectly. Right, so I think everything's there. I mean, everything seems to be in place. It's not off at all. It's not rotated round the wrong way. Now look what I've just spotted. We've got two resistors round the wrong way. R11 and R5 are rotated wrong. Now this was the sort of thing, because I've produced my most recent batch with this and it's all going through fine. So this is a prime example. Something has changed since I produced that file originally. A part has been replaced, and the replacement is now orientated in the machine differently, and because of that it's now being put on the board wrong. So R11 and R5. Well, I wasn't really prepared for that, but might as well show you. Right. What was it? R5 and R11. There's R5. There's its orientation. Now 360. That's right the way around. So if I change that to 90, I'll probably will. Oh, there's R11 right next to it. That's handy. Change R11 to also be 90. Right, let's update that file that I've only just uploaded. Let's go back. I'll go back here. Go back again. Right. Let's give them the updated file. Give them the updated file. Now go next. Well, in a way, I'm glad that happened actually, because that demonstrates what I was trying to show. Honestly, swear to God, that wasn't planned. Right, let's wait for this to update, and we'll check the orientation of R11 and R5. And there we go, they're orientated properly. Now, hopefully, if we did miss that, one of the clever clogs at JLC would have noticed and fixed it for us, but at the same time, we can't really rely on that. So we do need to have a good look over the board ourselves just to make sure. So, since I clearly missed that the first time, let's have a good look at everything. Yeah, I think we're sorted now. Okay, now we are now ready to purchase it. Now, unfortunately, there will be a minimum order quantity of 5. You'll find that a lot when you're putting these boards together. You will run into minimum order quantities a lot. So you just have to try and sort of bear with it. So this is going to be in total 76 quid. Does that include postage and or... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. That might actually be a little bit higher by time that they handle customs as well for importing into the UK. So again, that's something else that will happen a lot. Sometimes you'll look at a price and think, hey, that's not too bad. And then when you get to the final bit of the checkout, you actually realise it's then that they add VAT and postage. So yeah, expect the prices to go up a little as well. But anyway, so that's that. Most of the work's done for us, and we'll have 5 of the boards. Now, at this point, I realise I've probably been waffling on for a bit. I don't want to make the video too long, so I probably will shorten this entire little project down to maybe 3 videos, 2, maybe 3. Okay, so now that that's ordered, though, what we should get in about 2 weeks' time is this. I'll hold it up to the camera so you can get a good look at it. You'll see, hang on a sec, hang on, I need something to point with. Here we go, a flux syringe. You'll see really almost everything on the board is done for us. The only stuff we need to do is the resonator here, these buttons here, the main Bluetooth module which will sit here, and the amplifier here. Oh, and also it would be good if you added the connector too. But honestly, believe me, this is so much better. I mean, when I first started doing this, all I had was the resistors and the capacitors, nothing else. I had to put everything else on the board myself. My second batch had the voltage regulator, which was wrong, and I then had to unsolder all of them and replace all of them. Then I think my second batch, after I'd learned that, oh sorry, no, the CAN driver chip, that was always on them as well actually. My second batch was that? My third batch, I should say. I was then able to add, I think it was the diodes, this protection diode here, the LEDs, but then I still had to do the chip. And again, the chip is by far the hardest thing on the board to do. So only my latest batch now has a chip on it already. Oh, I'm getting flux on it, look. So that deals with so much for us, and these truly are lovely little boards, aren't they? I want to say it's a lovely design. I've learned so much working on these. There's the designers of the project here. Get them in the light. Honestly, fantastic little board. But anyway, right. Oh, of course, what I will be doing in this series is showing you how to get this from JLC PCB and add what you need to create this. But that will come in our following video. Right, for now though, we still need to get everything ordered. So back to the computer. I have another window open here with everything in it already. Here's a bill of materials. That's one of the things you'll be able to get from the BlueSAAB forum itself. I noticed, I must have realized at some point, but it doesn't actually have the large audio connector listed. It should be at position P1. It's not actually listed here as best as I can see anyway. So sadly, that's not entirely complete. And this is where we also get into the problem with availability of parts. Sadly. So most of it I've been ordering from DigiKey, which again, looking at the price, I'll explain the price in a sec, you'll pay more than that. But we definitely need these, and at present you don't seem to be able to buy the Bluetooth module, which is a shame, because, you know, the whole thing about BlueSAAB, that's where the blue and BlueSAAB comes from, is the Bluetooth module. And you also can't seem to buy the boxes at present either, which is a shame. But if you're just doing it for yourself, you could just put it in a cardboard box, really, couldn't you? Yeah, you don't really need the proper nice plastic box to hold it all in. Oh, and I've just realised, my apologies, you can't seem to get the amplifier either. But hopefully in the coming months all of this will improve, and you can check it out. Here's all the part numbers you need for searching on DigiKey's website, so you can keep an eye out for any of these components. I'll be honest, I'm also hoping, and I may look into it myself at some point, to see if we can find, say, an equivalent on JLC PCB for this amplifier. But we'll need to obviously look at a bunch of chips and check the data sheets to see if they're actually compatible or not, because we need the exact same pinouts and power and everything. So we may or may not be able to find an equivalent. Now, if we did, that would be brilliant. We could add it to the CSV, get the orientation and everything correct, and then that's again one less thing we actually need to do. So that would be good if we could find that. So from here we would buy all of this as well. Now you'll notice so far, because of the minimum order quantities from JLC, they're only willing to do 5 boards at a minimum. Here I am only trying to get a quantity to finish 1 board. Don't forget, you need 2 buttons per board, not 1. I've made that mistake before. And you'll have to add VAT and import and postage onto this number here, so that number will increase. Right, now that we've got those components out the way, we need to head to AutoClick in the UK. Now the reason for that is that DigiKey and Mauser, at least, I'm not sure if I searched for Farnell in the end. But anyway, AutoClick's where I've been sourcing the connector from. At least for me here, so that's £14 something per connector. Again, hopefully ordering bigger numbers you will perhaps get a discount. I don't recall exactly. One thing you will find about this project, the costs do kind of spiral a bit. Most places will give you quantity discounts and stuff, but again, back when I first ordered my first batch of, like, I think it was 10 PCBs just with capacitors and resistors on, that entire 10 came to something like 12 quid. It was like, ooh, this is going to be nice and cheap. And of course, by the time you start buying a connector for £14 and, you know, a Bluetooth module for £16 and a box for nearly a fiver, look, and that chip again for nearly £4, £5 by the time you add VAT probably, it all adds up. So yeah, it starts off cheap and snowballs from there. Sadly, we're still not quite done. One of the things that was quite annoying at first, when you buy the plastic box to put it in, the plastic box of course does come with 4 screws to close the lid. It doesn't actually come with any fixing screws to hold the BlueSAAB module in place. I did a lot of searching around and stuff, and basically here on eBay, there's the size that we need. Of course, we only need, I tend to put in 3 per board, because I was never sure, if we switch back to the camera a sec, I was never too sure down here. It's probably okay, but it does seem to touch the resistors here, the head of the screw, which I was never too happy with. And so in the end, I just put in 3, one here, and here. And that would hold it in the board perfectly fine. Obviously the connector's here, so it just in essence just means this end here would be flapping around slightly, which, yeah, it's a solid board, it doesn't actually, but you see what I mean. Yeah, so I just avoided it here just to make sure I wasn't shorting anything out that I shouldn't be. So if you're interested in making any of these yourself, by all means, I wholeheartedly encourage it. It really is worth it. It's a good learning experience as well. In the next video, we'll properly go through all of this, how to turn this into this. Hopefully I'll be able to show you some diagnostics procedures on the way to make sure so that if it stops working at some point, if as you've been putting things on you've been testing that works, and if it stops working you can just backtrack a little, because you know it worked at that point, if you see what I mean. Yeah, and then obviously we'll load on the firmware. I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll see about plugging it into a car and making sure that it actually works. Until then, thanks for watching.